Okay, here we are in the aftermath of our visit to Fear itself at Legend Park in Mishawaka, Indiana. As you can see, I came back with a relic of our visit here. This was our visit to the Cuckoo's Nest Sanitarium, and this is what I was left with. One of the things that many guests were left with before they left. Just a brief overview. Fear itself is what they call a scream park. It has 5 different haunted attractions all in one place, all for one price. You go in the same location, you go to 5 different things. This one had a haunted trail of sorts, like a hillbilly trail, a psychiatric ward, a circus that was partially 3D, a 3D adventure with no live people in there, but a lot of they call it 4D, but 3D things coming out at you against the wall, off the wall. And then the last one was a rock cave, very well designed rock cave with a giant rock monster at the end, although no live actors. One of the things I'll say about these scream parks is that they're not necessarily high on scares. They're more tongue-in-cheek with certain things, but it's fun to have them all together. This one, I would definitely say, out of the 5 things, the trail would have been better if there were more actors, although the actors that were there were quite funny. The 4D house was excellent. There were no live actors, but 4D house was excellent. The clowns, very tongue-in-cheek, but a very long haunt, over 20 minutes long. Lots of good things to see in there. The rock monster one, again, nothing was in there. It was about 10 minutes long, with very detailed cave sets, walls, etc. And then finally, the last one was the Cuckoo's Nest, which was the best one of them all. It was a sanitarium, and inside the sanitarium was a whole long list of various mental patients, well-designed waiting rooms, well-designed rooms, a morgue, a dentist's office, a rubber room, file room, and everybody was a great actor. They were all in character. They were all crazy, all tongue-in-cheek, very amusing, and the amusement factor really upped it for me. So I'm going to give the whole thing overall 5 out of 5 because you get a 5 haunt experience, so if 1 or 2 are okay, like the trail was just average, basically it's still good. So there you go, 5 out of 5 for me at Fear Itself Scream Park.
Hi, we just came from Fear Itself, and as Brian said, I thought everything was very well done. You get a lot of 5 different haunts for one price. Everything, I mean, luckily we didn't have to wait very long, which was good, but I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed them all. They all were a little different, and like I said, the last one, the Cuckoo's Nest, was exceptionally good. I mean, it was very well done. I'm not a big fan of sanitarium haunted houses, but this one, the characters were great. I really enjoyed it. It was very, very well done. The 3D and 4D attractions were pretty good too. And everything was pretty long. Nothing was like in and out in a few minutes, 5 minutes. All of them, we spent a lot of time here. I would actually recommend it just because, I mean, it's a little bit different, and I just like the whole theme of it. Just having different haunts in one place, and, and the length. You can spend some time here. We spent over a couple hours. So I give it a 5 out of 5 overall.
What would be your favorite out of all of them?
Well, I probably would say the Cuckoo's Nest, but...
And why was that?
What? Why was that? Because of the characters, and it was just very well done. Even in the waiting area, I mean, they had like newspaper clippings and a Life magazine. I mean, it was very, very detailed, and I was very impressed with it. And the magazines and the newspapers were related to the actual haunted house and the theme of the Cuckoo's Nest. And they actually have like a news feed on the TVs in the waiting area, like a waiting room at a sanitarium. It was very, very well done.
And your least favorite out of all of them?
Probably the Lost Woods.
Any particular reason?
Because it was kind of dark and the terrain was kind of uneven. I was a little nervous on that. But other than that, I mean, the guy that kind of walked you through it, he was pretty entertaining. And it's not that I didn't like it, but I mean, out of all of them, that was probably, it didn't have as much as the rest of them. The Rock Monkey one, I mean, that one was very detailed. I mean, you could see they put a lot into the sets. Like I said, once again, it wasn't a lot of actors, but as far as details, and I mean, it was very, very well done. It looked like something out of a movie, like a movie set to me. It reminded me of Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of that feel, which was very good.
All right, so 5 out of 5 from you.
5 out of 5, definitely.
All right,
5
excellent.
5 chainsaws. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I found out, this is our first year for visiting Scream Parks. We don't really have the equivalent of these things in Illinois. They seem to have quite a few of them in the Indiana area. One of the things I noticed about Scream Parks is that they supplement the haunt itself with a lot of people who are funny, which is a lot different than the experience where you have a lot of actors that are in your face and screaming and things like that. So far, out of all 5 of the haunts here at Fear itself, not a single one of them would I say was actually scary. They had some scares in them, but most of them are tongue-in-cheek, and that elevated even the what I would say the more mediocre ones, like the trail. The trail was called The Lost Woods, and there were very few actors in there. Could have been good, but there were no lights on the trail, so I was more paying attention to where I was walking, and also the fact that you couldn't see anything. But the few actors that were in there were all amusing. They didn't necessarily scare you. It was all sort of tongue-in-cheek, including the guy who led you in. His name was Cletus, and he had a little bottle of illegal hooch that he was drinking from, and he was hitting on the ladies and the men, as a matter of fact, asking them if they could cook, and, of course, if they couldn't cook, they were going to die and things like that. So it's that kind of thing that really adds to it. And one thing about the Cuckoo's Nest that I really liked, every set was very detailed. It actually looked as though you were walking through a real building and not a construct. And I think that's partially down to the fact that that was actually inside a real building. So they probably used some of the setup of the actual building. But it took you all the way from the waiting room, which was really well done. The waiting room looked like a real waiting room, and it had mental patients in the waiting room, a nurse's station and all this. It was excellent. Took you through the waiting room, down the patient wards, through the cellar, through the bathrooms, through the crematorium, the dentist's office, a rubber room, all sorts of different places, a child's playroom, etc., etc. And all the actors were funny. Every single one of them had some sort of jokiness to them, which was excellent. Made you laugh a lot through it. So it kind of even took away from the scares. But again, there was a lot of detail in each of the rooms. All the rooms had excellent props. They looked old. This was supposed to be set like in the 1960s or so, and it did look decrepit in some areas. They had some really good old newspaper clippings. They were artificially created, you could tell that, but they looked old. Life magazine covers, etc. When you walked in, the hallway was full of staff, pictures of the staff. It had the name of the sanitarium and everything. It was really well done, and that really added to it. I have to say, the actors were excellent. According to the people who run it, they were rated the #1 haunted attraction in Indiana last year, as a matter of fact. And I could see it for the acting. I definitely can. It's definitely a different experience than what you get in some of the haunts in Illinois, the intense sort of haunts. It's more tongue-in-cheek, again, but that really added to it. So 5 out of 5 for me. And I'll always remember this, too, even after I wash it off, because that's another difference in Indiana. The actors can touch you, and they do. You can't touch them, but they can touch you, and certainly got touched there. I got touched more than once. Almost got kissed, but unfortunately I missed out on that.
I was the lucky one for that.
Yeah, Laura got kissed. Probably not by someone that you wanted to get kissed by, but she did anyway. So anyway, all in all, a good, nice, good thing. One other bonus about these is that they open before the season. So the official season really doesn't start till next weekend, but this weekend we hit this Scream Park and we enjoyed it. So 5 out of 5.